man accused of stealing guns from a fire evacuee's car faced a judge for the first time today. We'll break down how one of those guns wound up in the shooting investigation.
We're feeling the heat as we end the week, but that's not the only thing I'm tracking as our weather impact alert continues into tomorrow.
The clear thought popped in my head, I might die on my front lawn.
A South Hill man survived a hatchet attack after police say a complete stranger came after him.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 5 tonight. I'm Mark Hanrahan. We kick things off at this hour with the story that we first brought you as breaking news last week, and new details reveal that a gun that was fired on an STA bus may have been stolen from a Wildfire evacuee. KREM 2's Brandon T. Jones joining us live in the studio tonight. What other details should we know, Brandon?
Well, Mark, the man accused of stealing the weapon made his first appearance in front of a Spokane judge this afternoon. And back on August 11th, a teenager riding an STA bus was shot in the arm following an accidental discharge of a gun. In the investigation process, the Spokane Police Department found a backpack with 2 guns inside, one that was previously reported as stolen. As a result, one juvenile was arrested and charged with second-degree unlawful possession of a firearm and second-degree rendering criminal assistance. Today, the person who law enforcement say originally stole the gun sat in front of a judge. According to court documents, 19-year-old Caleb Crow stole the weapon from a parked car near the Garland district. The gun was reported stolen by a woman who police say was displaced by fire evacuations on top of 5 Mile, and court documents say she stored the weapons in her vehicle because she was not allowed back home.
I'll set bond in the amount of $1,000 on this matter. The arraignment will be August 25th at 9 a.m. All conditions apply.
So a bond of $1,000 because of a lack of criminal history for Crow, and court documents go on to say Crow was seen on nearby security footage that placed him in the area of the crime. At this point, we don't know how the stolen gun got from Crow to the teens who were on the bus that day of August 11th, but once we learn any new information, we'll of course keep you updated across all KREM 2 platforms. For now, in the studio, I'm Brandon T. Jones.
Thank you very much. Spokane received $1 million in wildfire housing assistance funds. The money will be given to those impacted by the Spokane complex fires. That money comes from the Washington State Department of Commerce. It'll be given out by Goodwill. It can go directly toward rental help, utilities, and leasing costs. Some of it is flexible funding as well. It can pay for items like medical devices, furniture, gas, and more. The city says it's already started identifying eligible residents and will begin enrollment and outreach soon. The money will be backdated for expenses starting on July 31st, but must be spent by January 2027. Well, it has been 3 years since the Gray and Oregon Road fires devastated communities here in Spokane County, and the county was later awarded more than $44 million in federal recovery funding. KREM 2's Emily Fox-Million joining us now to break down where that money stands today.
3 years is a long time, especially for someone who might be recovering from a disaster, but the city tells me they didn't get the green light on that $44 million until January of this year. So I asked them what's happened in the 8 months since.
$44 million sounds like a lot of money ready to spend, but that's not quite how the federal funding works.
The county did not receive a check for $44 million. We don't have $44 million of HUD money sitting in a bank account. It is more like a line of credit.
That line of credit comes from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. As approved recovery work is done, those costs are reimbursed through the program. The county first learned it would get the money in January of 2025. Kern says the funding then spent several months in limbo during a federal review.
By far, the number one thing that we heard from them was housing. That has remained the number one the number one ask or need from those communities.
HUD approved the county's plan, and the county signed its agreement in January of this year. Since then, the county has taken applications from organizations that provide recovery services, selected providers, and worked through contracts.
We wish it could have happened sooner, but there's a process in place step by step that we had to follow.
As that money starts moving, it won't arrive as a check in the fire survivor's mailbox. It instead pays organizations for approved recovery work, including building homes. $500,000 has already been committed for case managers working with fire survivors, and KREM says about $20.5 million would be committed within the next few weeks, primarily for housing.
There are also federal income requirements. Not every fire victim is going to qualify for this particular funding, but the county says anyone who still needs help 3 years after these fires should reach out to the Spokane Regional Long-Term Recovery Group. In Spokane, Emily Fox-Millian, KREM 2 News.
Night after he was forced to fight a man wielding a hatchet at his front door, and the victim says he believes he was targeted because he's transgender. Now a 25-year-old man is facing a felony assault charge. KREM 2's Christian Garza has been digging through court documents all day and shares more on what happened.
A fight for survival. That's what happened right here in the front yard of this South Hill home.
Home is a space where people are meant to feel safe, but for one Spokane family, home is a constant reminder of the trauma they endured from a complete stranger. According to court documents, in the early morning hours of August 10th, Xander Wolf was woken up after hearing glass breaking in his front yard. When he went out to investigate with a baseball bat, he was confronted by a man identified by police as 25-year-old Sean Jones with a hatchet. Wolf says that confrontation quickly became physical. Wolf tells me he didn't even realize Jones had a hatchet until he got hit in the head with it.
The clear thought popped in my head, I might die on my front lawn. That was a really pivotal moment. I remember thinking, I have to survive this somehow.
Wolf says after minutes of fighting on his lawn, Wolf was able to hold Jones down with the baseball bat until police showed up on scene. Wolf sustained multiple cuts in places like his arms, shoulders, and head. He also says one of the blows to the head fractured his skull. Coming up tonight, we hear more from Wolf and his family about why they believe they were targeted on the lawn of their own home. In Spokane, Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
All right, time now for our first check of the forecast at 5 o'clock with meteorologist Cody Proctor joining us in the Outdoor Weather Center. Cody, another toasty day, and you're also tracking some red flag warnings.
Yeah, that is exactly right, Mark. And that's why we have this weather impact alert in the first place. First was for the heat. Now it's for that possibility for fire risk in our forecast. As we head into tomorrow, we are looking at possibilities of some isolated thunderstorms paired up with potentially some dry lightning. We'll watch that pretty closely, and some gusty winds as well. But as we take a look outside over at Lake Coeur d'Alene, lots of folks out on the water right now. And at the Spokane Airport, our current temperatures at this very moment, 96 degrees at this time. Our winds are coming out of the northeast at 13 miles per hour. That relative humidity just so dry. It's only down into the low teens at this very moment. In comparison to others around the state and around our region, looks like we're seeing those triple digits still hanging on in Moses Lake at this time from right now. Still currently at 96 in Coeur d'Alene, 95 right now in Sandpoint, and that's usually one of our cooler spots on the map. Now, the last few hours for us has been relatively quiet. It looks like we're starting to pick up a little bit of moisture down towards the Tri-Cities throughout parts of the Columbia Basin, so watching that pretty closely. We'll have to double check to see if that's more in the form of virga right now, so showers that start but don't quite make it down to the ground before they evaporate. So we're watching that pretty closely. As for the next 12 hours or so, still going to be hot for the most part, hanging on to those upper 90s. Tomorrow morning could start us off in the low 70s. We're looking at a possibility to be back in the low 90s for tomorrow with some breezy winds as well before we drop down in our temperatures for Sunday. I'll have more coming up in your full forecast.
Cody, thank you. As the school year begins, the Idaho Immunization Coalition says a, quote, troubling trend for Idaho students is happening. 17.5% of Idaho kindergartners had exemptions to one or more wellness vaccines for the 25-26 school year. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says that is 4 times the national average, which also set a record high at 4.2%. Public health experts say chaos and confusion over vaccine safety at the federal level is driving the trend.
Meanwhile, in the rest of the country, you, as we saw, are seeing, in particular, religious exemptions go up, vaccination rates go down. In some states like Idaho, you have 18% exemption rate at this point. So that's really very high when you consider you need 95% coverage for measles immunity, herd immunity. If you have 18% of the kids opting out, you just don't have it.
The IIC encourages Idaho parents who are concerned about vaccines to talk with their doctors and to make evidence-based decisions for their families and communities. Well, we have some good news to share about our Tools to Schools campaign. Distribution began yesterday at the Martin Luther King Jr. Center in Spokane. Volunteers prepared and sorted about 1,500 backpacks and supplies for area schools. Those backpacks will be given out at the MLK Jr. Center this weekend and to site coordinators with communities in schools. Another 1,500 backpacks will be delivered to 4 schools on Monday and on Tuesday that were most impacted by the Spokane area wildfires. These efforts were made possible by so many of you with our local supply drives and our partners with Office Depot. So we can't say thank you enough to everyone who took the time to help out. We will continue to keep collecting donations for Tools to Schools at Spokane Office Depot locations so we can serve even more kids throughout the year. All right, coming up, the city of Cheney may stop adding fluoride to its drinking water. Why dental professionals say that might not be a good idea. And stay tuned for the festival and the world record-breaking event that you can attend this weekend.